So, you're running late, you're literally tearing the house apart. Where did I put my keys? You're what, 30? Maybe 35? And as you furiously pat down your pockets for the fifth time, this quiet, agonizing little thought whispers in the back of your mind. Oh man, it's starting. The inevitable mental decline. I mean, you've heard the story 1,000 times, right? Your brain peaked in your early 20s, and now you're just on this slow, sad slide toward forgetting your own Wi-Fi password and asking people to repeat themselves. But what if I told you that entire narrative is just a complete scientific lie? Yeah, the counterintuitive truth is that for most of the cognitive abilities that actually matter in the real world, your brain peaks at 55, 60, or even later. Our whole cultural obsession with this single peak at age 25, it's scientifically incomplete to the point of being highly misleading. This is Mind Spectrum, and today's science is absolutely going to change how you think about every birthday from now on. In this explainer, we're going to see exactly why you aren't losing your mind, you're actually just upgrading it.
Okay, think of a 25-year-old brain, like a brand new smartphone straight out of the box. It's got that factory operating system, it's incredibly fast, super responsive, but it's empty. It literally doesn't know a single thing about you yet. Now, compare that to a 55-year-old brain. That is a highly customized phone you've been using for 15 years. Sure, maybe it takes a tiny fraction of a second longer to open up an app, but it knows your patterns, your preferences, your entire history. It predicts what you need before you even ask for it. It's no longer optimizing for raw speed. It is optimizing for meaning.
So, the way this happens biologically is just fascinating. As we age, our brains naturally transition from this speed phase into what we can really call the wisdom phase. Your brain undergoes this amazing process called synaptic pruning. Listen, it's not declining, it is aggressively optimizing. It literally deletes the neural connections you don't use anymore and dramatically strengthens the ones you do. It basically stops prioritizing raw, frantic processing and instead builds this massive interconnected network designed for self-reflection, integrating past experiences, and understanding complex social nuance. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this is just some feel-good metaphor to make us all feel better about getting older, well, let's talk about 3 million. Back in 2015, researchers Hartshorn and German over at MIT and Harvard conducted this absolutely massive study. They tracked the cognitive abilities of nearly 3 million people across their entire lifespans. It is quite literally one of the most comprehensive data sets we have on how the human brain changes over time. And here is how this actually builds out, because this is exactly where the data completely shatters that single peak myth. It turns out your brain peaks multiple times for completely different abilities. So yes, raw processing speed, thinking fast, that peaks pretty early, around 18. Working memory peaks at 25. But look at what happens next. Emotion recognition, your ability to read faces and understand how people are truly feeling, that doesn't peak until your mid-40s. And crystallized intelligence, which is your vocabulary, your accumulated wisdom, your general knowledge, that doesn't hit its peak until age 55 or even older. So how does this actually apply to your everyday survival? Like, say, sitting through incredibly toxic office meetings. If you're over 35 and you feel like meetings are getting harder to follow, it's not because you're losing a step, not at all. It's because your brain is doing way more work. A 25-year-old brain just hears the literal words being said. But a 35 or 45-year-old brain? It's tracking the subtext, the body language, the past dynamics between coworkers, and all those hidden implications. You aren't just processing the dialogue anymore, you're processing the entire strategy. Honestly, your newly optimized brain is vastly superior out in the real world. Older brains absolutely dominate at things like diffusing arguments, expressing incredibly complex thoughts, and understanding the deep architecture of a system rather than just memorizing which buttons to click on the latest software update. Your brain literally rewires itself to prioritize deep comprehension and emotional regulation way above just reactive speed. And hey, what about that highly frustrating tip of the tongue phenomenon? When you think you're losing your vocabulary? Well, you might want to check yourself. The science actually shows your crystallized verbal ability keeps expanding well into your 60s. You are not losing your words. You are gaining vastly better ones. You're basically trading quick, superficial recall for depth, precision, and the ability to articulate highly nuanced ideas. So if all of this is true, why on earth do we constantly hear that we're past our prime by 30? Well, you can blame selective reporting for that. When that massive MIT study came out in 2015, dozens of media outlets grabbed exactly one statistic and just ran with it. Headlines were screaming, "Your brain peaks at age 22." They sensationalized raw processing speed because, frankly, it's easy to measure and it feeds directly into this cultural anxiety about aging that sells clicks. They just completely ignored the fact that emotional intelligence, social reasoning, and vocabulary peak decades later. Because, let's face it, wisdom's a lot harder to turn into a viral headline. Which brings us to a really profound, soul-provoking question. Are we measuring the entirely wrong things? Just think about our modern corporate innovation culture for a second. What if our entire society, our education system, our hiring practices, what if all of our definitions of cognitive fitness are entirely biased toward the fast, reactive cognitive abilities of a 22-year-old? It's honestly a tragic reality. We're running society on speed metrics while actively pushing out our wisdom engines. We heavily reward the people who can adapt to a new interface the fastest, while completely undervaluing the people who actually understand why the system was built in the first place. And more importantly, how to keep it from collapsing. We're out here optimizing for quick answers instead of the right ones. The absolute key takeaway from all of this is right here. Stop measuring your 40, 50, or 60-year-old brain against 25-year-old standards. The next time you catch yourself thinking, man, I used to be sharper, I want you to ask yourself, sharper at what? Faster at solving a Rubik's Cube? Sure, maybe. But better at reading a room, resolving a conflict, or expressing a nuanced idea? You have literally never been better at those things than you are right now. Do not wish you were 25 again. That version of your brain already did its job. You are a completely different machine now playing a much more advanced game. And that's a game you can absolutely win if you just lean into your current strengths. If this explainer made you rethink aging, hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely tell us down in the comments, what is one specific thing you've genuinely gotten better at with age? I really can't wait to read what you guys have to say. I'll see you in the next explainer.